dealing with exponents. So they look very similar to these three Math Workshop questions. What is the first thing I should do on number 4? And your group gets point. Let's make this 5a to the 6th, b to the 9th, in the denominator, all raised to the 3rd power. Perfect, Jax. Now what should we do? Okay, so when we raise powers, what do we do with the exponents? We gotta multiply. 1 gets the point. We gotta multiply. So it's 5 to the 3rd, a to the some number. When you multiply, what should you get? Yes, and I should change that to 125. Thank you, Jax. 5 to the 3rd is 125, so I'll go ahead and fix that. It's a to the what power? And b to the 5, get the point. So our final answer is 125, a to the 18th divided by b to the 27th. But that should have been super easy. If not, that's something you need to study tonight. Okay, number 5 looks like a division problem. When we divide, what do we do with the exponents? 5, get another point. We normally would subtract. However, this is a trick one. Why? Yes, and 2 gets the point because there are only c's in the numerator. So I'm actually just going to add them and get c to the 9th. There are only d's in the denominator. I'm going to add those and get d to the 11th. Now, so all I have to deal with is that negative 21 divided by 3. Negative 7. We're done. 5 was easy, and then 6 is the easiest one of them all. It is q to the... Thank God, because someone last period said 9 and about broke my heart. So don't forget about the understood 1. 3 plus 6 plus 1 is 10. Yay. Yeah, I was super happy about that. Okay, do you have out your notes packet? Let's talk about some things for your test tomorrow. Yes, test. We've already talked about that. I'm actually going to help you with 3 study guide problems in just a second. So we talked about on the test, you can use your study guide because I've been absent and life's been hard, so I feel sorry for you at the moment. I posted the keys to the study guide yesterday. If you've not looked at it, you probably want to before the test tomorrow to make sure yours is up to date and correct and everything. The first 5 on the study guide are rules of exponents. And there are, like I said, 8 on the test like that. In fact, when we get done talking, when we stop recording, I'll pull up the actual test and we'll look at it. 6 through 11, there are problems on the test where you have to state the degree and leading coefficient. There are problems on the test where you have to actually simplify each polynomial. So you might have to add or distribute like on number 9. But there aren't any problems that are combo like this that require this much time. So that's the good news. Okay, and then 12 through 19, division, those took some time. If you messed up 20 through 23, I'm really confused about life, but I stay confused. So the only ones you really should need help on are the back 3, and that's what I want to talk about today. So we started talking about graphing last Friday. And to be honest, I hadn't looked at the test that, I don't make the test. Like, I just give the test. I hadn't looked at the test when we started talking on Friday, so I assumed you needed to know how to graph in order to do well on this test, and that's actually not true. There are no actual graphs on the test tomorrow. That's going to be left for the next test. But there are things we talked about that help us graph that will be on the test tomorrow. For instance, something we talked about when we are given an equation is we need to know the zeros. What are the zeros on number 1? And I have to give it to 4 and not 2 because she said 16. Okay, even though this is not on the test, it does not hurt us to practice. It will be on the next test, and makes it useful. So why do I need to know the zeros? Because my graph is going to cross at -2, 1, and 4. Now, Paige is already trying to handle something else. Yes. But the word wasn't multiple. What was the word? Multiplicity. But we're going to give to the point because she said it first. Multiplicity of 2. So if any of them have a multiplicity higher than 1, the way the 4 did, it's important to note it because something funny happens at that point on the graph. All the other points we might just cross through. We're going to do something a little extra special at the 4. Okay, so we talked about zeros and multiplicity to help us graph. We've also talked about the degree and the leading coefficient. What is the degree of this given polynomial? The highest power it's going to be. It's not 2. We talked about how we could guess it without actually foiling it all the way out. But if we did actually distribute this all the way out, the highest is going to be x to the what power? Yes, because 2, 3, 4, and that's how 2, 3, 4. That's how we're getting the degree is 4. And all that degree is going to let us know for now is that the higher the degree, the more little loops we should have. That makes sense. The funkier the graph's going to look. The leading coefficient, we're not actually going to calculate. I'm betting it's a 1. Really, all I need to know in order to be successful graphing, if I'm just guessing right now, because we are just blindly guessing, is it a positive or a negative? And since it's a positive sign all the way out front right now, I'm assuming it's going to be a positive graph. Okay, so since it's happy, I'm assuming it starts up here. But again, I could check all this with my graphing calculator. No one's taken that away yet. I assume I need to come and go through there somehow, loop back up to here. Again, just guessing. And then since 4 has a multiplicity of 2, I know that spot at 4 has to be extra special. It actually gets to hit there kind of twice. So I'm going to go back up. But again, Justice doesn't actually have to make this graph tomorrow. But Justice will have to figure out the zeros, the multiplicity, the degrees, the leading coefficient, and figuring that out helps us graph. So it's, might as well put 2 and 2 together. Yes, dear. X squared was going to be the highest with this one. X to the 1's highest with that one. X to the 1's highest with that one. So if I'm thinking through, if I'm multiplying them all in my head, 1 plus 1 plus 2 is going to be 4. Okay, number 1 is, are there any questions on 1? Number 1 is way easier than number 2 because number 1 is in something form. It was in your notes. Find it. The first one to find it gets a point. Number 2 is in standard form. But number 1 is easier because it's in something form. Yes, and you get your point. We're in factored form. Factored form helps us figure out the zeros a little more easily. On number 2, we can go ahead and list out that leading coefficient and the degree, but we definitely can't do anything with the zeros yet. Okay, what is the leading coefficient? What's the degree?
The degree is 6.
The degree is what? Yes, because the highest exponent's a 3. And -1, so, and he's right, it's -1. I'm mostly focused on the fact that it's negative today. He's right specifically, it's -1, but as long as we're understanding it's negative, so it's a sad one, we're good to go. Okay, but factored form was nicer because we could instantly see those zeros. We can't instantly see those zeros in number 2. We're going to need to factor and get to factored form. Is there something I could pull out of every single term? So if I pull out that GCF of -x, I heard 2 groups say it, both get a point. I would be left with x squared plus 7x plus 10. Can I break down x squared plus 7x plus 10 into 2 binomials?
X plus 5 and
2 gets another point. 5 plus 2 is 7. 5 times 2 is 10. Yay. And we did all this because now we can actually physically list those zeros. And you get a point, and I love you because the first word you said, 0. We got to remember that one's going to be 0. Negative 5, negative 2 is completely correct as well, but you will mess up on the 0 one. So 0, negative 5, negative 2. Those are the spots where our graph will cross. Do any of our zeros have a multiplicity higher than 1? No. I don't see like x plus 5 cubed or anything like that, so nope. So nothing funky is going to happen. We just need to cross through all these points. Now, again, this is later this week's problem. This is not tomorrow's problem. I just can't help but tell you all the things I know in life at the same time. I know a cubic ends up looking like a snake. So a negative cubic is going to end up looking like a backward snake. I get that. I know you didn't know that, but again, you got that graphing calculator. So I'm assuming it's just start up here, go through here, and snake back down. You don't have to graph tomorrow. I'm just telling you things that we're learning later this week, so the sooner you catch on, the happier we will all be. But again, on the test tomorrow, you'll have to figure out leading coefficient, degree, zeros, multiplicity, and the reason we figure all that out is because it helps us graph. You may not have to graph tomorrow, but the reason we're doing this junk is to get to graphing. Okay, any questions on number 2? Well, I don't know about you, but when I saw number 3, I got really frustrated with my life because it was Sunday afternoon and I didn't feel like doing math and I had no patience and I don't know, it just wasn't working for me. So leading coefficient and degree were easy. The degree's 2, the leading coefficient's 1, so it's a positive 1. That I could do. It was after that I got stuck. There are 4 terms, so we need to group. I don't know if he looked at the key or if he just knew that, but I promise you I stared at it for 5 or 6 minutes before that finally dawned on me. Where can I pull out of the first group? Pull out an x, I'm left with an x plus 7. What can I pull out of the second group? Well, yeah, and I'm going to put the negative 1 to help those, but do we have to write the 1? Heck no. No, I'm just putting it for those who are trying to keep up. So that means I actually have x minus 1 and x plus 7. So my zeros are at 1 and negative 7. Okay, so this should be looking pretty familiar to us. We've got, we've either got to decide it's going to look like this or it's going to look like that. And we know since the leading coefficient is positive, it's the happy face one. What was that graph called? This U or this N? It had a name. It is a quadratic, but the graph itself, it is a quadratic function. That is completely true. But the graph itself has a name. Yes, parabola, and 2 gets a point. The first group could not come up with parabola. But yeah, so it's going to look something like this. Miss Compton drew a terrible one. Mine is straight up ugly. Hopefully yours looks a little prettier and less skankety. That is just ugly, ugly, ugly. Oh well. Okay, but again, us factoring, us figuring out zeros, degree, leading coefficient, this is all leading us to making the graph. So even though you don't have to make the graph tomorrow, you have to do all the pre-work to get to the graph. So might as well be brave today and go ahead and make the graphs. Are there any questions about this? Okay, so I'm not even going to lie to you. I don't really particularly love the graphing notes we were doing anyway, so I'm probably going to give you a different version come Wednesday anyway. Tomorrow you can use your study guide, which means I'm not going to take it up as a grade. So if you choose to not do it, you're really just killing yourself. If there are no questions, I'm going to show you the test really fast, and then I'm just going to let you work on whatever it is you need to work